Good evening, everybody. I'm going to get started. Thanks for coming in. I know we don't have a huge group tonight, but I am going to use the microphone only for the purpose of we are recording, just so if anybody did miss it and couldn't come in tonight, they can go back and watch it and have access to it. So, all right, and I've got sound. All right, thanks again for coming in to our fall sports student and parent meeting. It's been a while since we've done these, so it's been nice to be able to come back and have these in person, especially coming out of COVID. So we're going to get started right on time here tonight. I believe this should be done no later than hopefully 6:45, and then we can get on with our Sunday nights. Pretty intentional here that you're going to see a group of our students here. That's obviously why we exist and why we're here. So throughout this presentation, you'll see lots of pictures of our kids from all of our programs. Our meeting objectives tonight, we'll go through our code of conduct and our expectations. You'll have the opportunity to turn in medical forms for registration. If you have not done that online, we can take those here in hard copy for you. Kyle Rudy, our athletic trainer, I'm not sure if he's going to be in here tonight or not, but we've got some information to cover for him as well. Additional information regarding athletics, and then at our meeting a few weeks ago, we did have team meetings as well. Put a pin in that. I'll circle back to that on a slide coming up. So introduction, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Trent Probst. I'm the assistant principal and athletic director here at Somerset. I'll be starting my 5th year in this current role. Prior to that, I was a teacher in the district. I taught kindergarten Phi Ed, middle school Phi Ed, and had some other various roles at the middle school as well. Got a picture of my family up there, my wife Emily. Love having her at games and supportive. You'll see my family around at games as much as possible. We've got 2 little ones. Brinley's going to be 2.5 here, just turned 2.5, and then Blakely was born back in June. Brinley's hitting the age right now where she likes to come up to school with dad after daycare and run around and do all kinds of stuff, so you'll probably see them at some games. A couple of people that I want to make sure to just have their faces up there for those of you that don't know who these people are. Miss Chapek, Renee Chapek, she's our athletic assistant. She's helping out at games, doing all kinds of things. She's the big go-to person for registration. So chances are, if you have a registration question, I'm not saying I won't know the answer, but she's always going to be the best person to go to because she keeps everything organized for us on the back end to make sure kids are registered and they have everything turned in. Andrew Newman, I have his picture up here as well. He's our new high school principal. He started July 1st. So as we get rolling back to school, you'll see him around as well. I have our head coaches up here, and earlier I said put a pin in the fall sports team meetings. If you're not currently getting information for any of our fall sports, please make sure that you contact the head coaches that are listed on here. On our website, we have a coach directory, and that's a great place to get their email addresses to make sure you're getting information. So again, if you're not receiving information from your team's head coach, please either let me know and I can get you in contact with them, or their email addresses are on our website. All right, so a question that I get asked a lot is, how do I play a fall sport? Okay, so in order to play a fall sport, you have to register, which is all done online now. That's where you pay your fees, you can upload your medical forms, and all the waivers and acknowledgments that you have to complete is all done online. You have to take the impact test, which is a computerized test that's used as a baseline in case a kid goes through concussion protocol. That's not the end-all be-all with clearing a kid from a concussion, but it's a piece of the puzzle that doctors will use. You have to honor the code of conduct, which we'll go through in a little bit, and you have to be academically eligible. So online registration. You can get through this at SomersetSpartans.com. That's our new athletics website. You register for all our athletics and activities online. Again, that's where you pay your fees, you can upload your medical forms, and you acknowledge the waivers. So medical forms. And I put this graphic up there, kind of kids in here that are on TikTok, you probably know what I'm talking about. Parents, if you have any idea about TikTok and all the challenges that were going around and different things like that, it's kind of ironic because every year we get around this point and sports are going to be starting, and every year there's going to be someone that doesn't know or doesn't turn their things in, and then they can't start practice on time. So we just really want to emphasize getting your forms turned in on time so you can start practice. So a physical, you don't need to have that every year. It's an every other year thing. You have to go to a doctor visit, doctor signs off, and then you submit that. You can do a physical every single year if you want to. There's nothing saying you can't do that. But every other year, you can turn in an alternate year card. I have copies over there if that's what you need for this year. That's super simple. You fill out your information, parent guardian signs off, submit it, and you're good to go. The impact test, I talked about this a little bit earlier. It's a computerized assessment that gives us a baseline in the event that a kid is working back through concussion protocol. It's computerized. During COVID, kids could do it at home, but now that we're coming out of COVID, we are having that completed at school. We had several dates where kids could complete that. If for some reason you missed those opportunities, please shoot me an email or email Kyle, our athletic trainer, and he can get a time for you to get that taken care of. A question that I get asked a lot as the athletic director is, where can I find information? And these slides will be available online as well, so you can go back and reference them, but we have a lot of places that you can find information. SomersetSpartans.com is one of our best places. That's our athletics and activities website. Each team will have a page on there where it has their schedule, it can have their practice schedules, things like that. So that's the best place to find information. MiddleBorderConference.com has schedules, your bus times, if kids are getting out of school early and leaving early, that information can be found there. We have a Twitter page, our handle's on there. We post a lot of things to our district Facebook page, try to get at the schedule every day, so when we hit Thursday, August 18th, we'll have on there the home football game. When we get to all of our volleyball games, cross-country meets, golf meets, soccer games, those will be posted on our Facebook page daily. Some of our teams have Facebook pages, some don't, but a lot of them do now. We like to push out things via email through Infinite Campus, the Spartan Scoop, which during the summer is about every other week. During the school year, it's every single week. We like to get information out there as well. And then the last one that I put on here is the state association. So the WIAA oversees and governs athletics in the state of Wisconsin. All of your information for tournaments or playoffs, that all can be found on their website. Another good example of where to find information. So this is an example of our schedule through MiddleBorderConference.com. I have an example here from February. This was a boys hockey game. Shows our opponent and the location. I highlight these two items here because going through COVID, when before COVID really there wasn't a ton of live streaming that was going on, and now living through COVID and coming out of it, there's a lot of live streaming of games. Also, ticket sales can be done online for several schools, so if there's ever a live stream link for an event, we post those on our schedule. So if you're wondering, hey, is this game going to be live streamed, or is this event going to be live streamed, MiddleBorderConference.com, you go to our Somerset page, and there will be a little camera logo there with live, and if you click that, it'll take you to the live stream link. The same thing with the ticket logo. If you want to purchase tickets for an event and want to know, can I do that in advance, you click that link and you can do that. So strength and conditioning is another thing that I want to dive into here a little bit, because I know just kind of looking around here, I see a lot of faces that have been in the weight room all summer. I want to give a huge shout out to our coaches that are in there working that all throughout the summer. They're coming in before school, going through an entire school day, coaching their teams at night and helping make that happen. So we have several opportunities where we want our kids to be involved to help get themselves better. First and foremost, during the summer, BFS. But during the school year, we have 0 Hour, which is a 4-credit weight training class for our high school kids. You can be in there before school and not get credit. You don't have to be there be a part of the class, but those are options to be in there before school. You can also take a weight training class during the day, and then we do have times where teams will take their teams into the weight room for practice. Next topic that I want to cover tonight is our code of conduct. So our code of conduct, really with athletics, it's a privilege, it's not a right, but it's broken down into 4 areas: attendance, academics, AODA, and behavior. In the academic area, students have to meet the standard of not having 1 or more failing grade, an incomplete, or fall below a 1.5 GPA for the midterm or the semester. Midterm grades are pulled in the middle of the term, so we pull those the beginning of November and the beginning of March. If a kid has not met the requirements, so this first bullet point up here, if a kid has 1 or more failing grade, an incomplete, or their GPA falls below 1.5, they start a 10-day academic monitoring period. What that means is they can still practice, they can still play games for 10 school days. At the end of the 10 school days, we check their grades again. If they're meeting the standard, they continue playing. If they're not meeting the standard, then they're out for 15 school days. That's for midterm. At the end of the semester, so first semester this year will end around in January, so January 23rd, or at the end of June. If a kid's not meeting the standard in January, they're out for 15 school days. There's not a 10-day monitoring period at that point with semester grades. Come June, if a kid's not passing their classes or meeting the standard, they'd be out for 21 calendar days to start the fall season. The reason that it's different, at the end of first semester, we're in the middle of the school year, so we go by school days. If we went by school days to start the fall season, a lot of our teams start in August and school hasn't started yet. You take 15 school days from the beginning of September, our kids would be missing almost 2 months of their season. So that's why we use calendar days to start the fall season. In regards to attendance, kids have to be in school by 10 a.m. in order to practice or play that night. But please know that if you're allowing your kid to stay home that morning because they're not feeling well, they're tired, whatever reason, that counts as one of your 10 parent excused absences. Anything above 10 parent excused absences runs the risk of a truancy situation. So again, we get it, things happen from time to time, but if you're gonna practice or play that night, you have to be in school by 10 a.m. Tardy to school applies to this as well. If a kid is in the building and they do not go to a class, which does happen from time to time, they are not able to practice or play that night. And just as a reminder, if a kid does reach truancy status for missing more days or not coming to school, those types of situations, that would result in an athletic code violation. The other component to our athletic code is AODA, alcohol and other drugs. So the use, possession, sale/distribution, or attendance at gatherings of alcohol, tobacco, nicotine, controlled substances, and drugs. And I'm highlighting on here because this comes up every so often. Use with a parent, while it may be legal in the state of Wisconsin, it's in violation of the athletic code. And I bring that up only because we've encountered different scenarios over the years where, well, my kid was with me, I gave them permission. You may have, but it's still in violation of the code. So please just remember these things as you're reviewing that. The final component of the code has to do with behavior. So conduct unbecoming. Here are several examples. Repeated profanity, repeated refusal to follow school rules, insubordination to staff and coaches, in and out of school suspension, fighting, unexcused absences, violation of school rules, and poor sportsmanship. Those can all result in athletic code violations. Couple of key points that I want to hit on in regards to WIA eligibility. So amateur status and NIL, name, image, and likeness. This is something I honestly didn't know we'd be talking about at the high school level, but I think it was last summer, the NCAA at the college level started to allow college student athletes to profit and to benefit from their name, image, and likeness, where before, college athletes couldn't receive anything for being an athlete, for lack of a better description right now. That changed last summer. We're starting to see this trickle down to high school. In the state of Wisconsin, it is not allowable yet for a student athlete to profit off of their name, image, and likeness, which again, I never thought I'd be having this conversation at the high school level, but lo and behold, it is legal in Minnesota for high school athletes in Minnesota to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. And you've got the goalie over at Edina for girls soccer who signed an NIL deal where she's getting sponsorship money for whatever their company's giving her. So I bring that up very intentionally to just know that as a high school student athlete, we still have to go by amateur status rules. So if someone wants to say, hey, Joey, can you come up here at our car dealership opening and we're gonna give you $200, you can't do that, okay? That would be in violation. The transfer rule, so if you are new to Somerset and we have not interacted yet, please make sure that you stop and see me tonight, or shoot me an email, or give me a phone call, because we have to work through transfer processes with your previous school in the WIA to make sure that you're eligible to start. I believe that most of the kids that are coming in new to the district, we've got that on our radar and we've been working with the families already, but again, if we have not had that contact, please make sure that you see me tonight. And last but not least, with eligibility, homeschool students. So this changed several years ago now, but if you are a homeschool student, you are eligible for athletics in your resident district. So a student who is homeschooled and lives in the Somerset School District can play athletics in Somerset. They can't go play athletics in Osceola or New Richmond. They'd only be eligible here because they live in our district. So again, if someone in this meeting or is watching online and you're a homeschool student and you have not had contact with us, please do so, because there's a form that we have to get filled out to confirm your eligibility. One final piece with the code of conduct in regards to consequences. So these are all outlined in our code of conduct, which is online. It's a part of registration. One thing that I wanted to bring up to you tonight is that anytime that there is a violation, those consequences are outlined in the code, and the percentages that a kid would be ineligible for. So if it says 25% of the season or 50% of the season, those are all based on the maximum number of games that your team can play. So for example, in football, the maximum number of games that a team can play in a season is 9. So if a violation is 25% or 50%, they calculate that off of 9. In volleyball, the maximum is 15. I think cross country, the maximum number of meets is 15. Golf is 15. Soccer is 24. So that's where they get those numbers from if there would be a violation. Couple of things in regards to parent and coach communication guidelines, and this is outlined in our code as well. Ideally, we want our students to be advocating and communicating and taking initiative as young adults, okay? We know that we're in the business of kids. We're helping them develop to take the next step after they leave Somerset High School. So ideally, the top things there, absences, illnesses, and injuries, we want that communication to come from the student as much as possible. Hey, I'm gonna be gone this weekend, my so-and-so is getting married and I have to be gone Friday from practice and we're gonna be heading out of town. I've got an orthodontist appointment, I'm gonna be late to practice on state. Ideally, we want that communication coming from the kid to the coach. It is 100% acceptable though for a parent to still follow through and relay those messages, because we know they don't always get relayed. But ideally, we want to coach our kids to be able to do those things and have those conversations. Student athletes are to communicate concerns to a coach first to inform and try to resolve. So concerns, ways to improve, information that they feel is beneficial to communicate. These advocation skills and conflict resolution are things that they're going to need for their entire life. So off-limit topics, and I've told our coaches this since I started here as athletic director 5 years ago, 100% these are off-limit topics. They do not need to engage in these discussions. These are 100% coaches' decisions. Playing time, positioning and event entry, team strategy, game tactics and play calling, and discussion about student athletes. So those are coaches' decisions. If a parent calls me up and says, hey, Mr. Probst, my kid should be playing more here, or I can't believe the coach is, I'm not going to engage in those conversations. I'm not at practice every day. I can't be at practice every day when we have 17 varsity teams here. It's just not possible. I'm going to trust our coaches to make those decisions. Now, if you feel like your kid's not being treated fairly or is being, you're not getting the communication that you need, or how can they get better, we want our kids to have those conversations and then go from there. Athletic training. So Kyle put together some information, and those of you that have been around our athletic teams for the past 3 or 4 years, Kyle's been a very stable face in our department. We have partnered with Westfields Hospital and Clinic now. This is starting our 4th year with them. Our partnership with them has been phenomenal. It's not typical to have the same athletic trainer for several years in a row, and to have Kyle all 4 years, we have just been beyond lucky, because he does a great job. He takes care of our kids, and he cares about them not just as athletes, but them as individuals. So they cover after school Monday through Friday from 3 to 6:30, all home varsity events, most JV. They travel to the away varsity football events as well. And with that, Kyle's our primary athletic trainer, but you'll see several faces from time to time. Because again, in our partnership with them over the past several years, one thing they've been able to totally deliver on for us is dual coverage. For example, if we have a soccer game going on outside and we have a volleyball game going on inside, they provide a person at each location for us. So they're not having to pick and choose, which one am I going to be at, which one am I not going to be at. Something happened at soccer and now nobody's covering volleyball. They've done an outstanding job at making that happen. Another good example is during the winter. We've got a wrestling meet going on here at the high school, and a girls hockey game going on downtown at the ice arena, they have somebody at each location for us. That has been absolutely huge, and we just appreciate everything that they've been doing for us with that. I'm going to use this phrase again later with something that I'll talk about, but even through COVID, when you're dealing with people being quarantined and close contact and everything like that, I literally cannot think of a game where we had going on here at the high school or at the high school and outside or here and at the ice arena, and we didn't have an athletic trainer present. So shout out to them for everything that they're doing. Some of the names that you see here, you'll maybe see them from time to time at games, but Kyle is the main person, and Teresa Nicolay is new with them. She'll be the other primary person here as well. So with athletic training, they are going to refer when necessary. So if they feel like, hey, this kid with this injury needs physical therapy, they'll make the appropriate referrals with the physician or the emergency department. It says expect a phone call from Kyle. I'm not calling you on that. That would be Kyle, who's dealing with the athletic training injuries, or Teresa if further steps need to be taken. And this last bullet point I really want to hit on is, if your kid comes home and they're injured or something is bothering them beyond like your typical like bruise or bump or things like that, and something is really not right, and you haven't heard from a coach or the athletic trainer, please reach out to one of them ASAP, because we want to make sure that all the communication lines are going with that, and that something's not getting missed. We have run into scenarios where a kid does get hurt at practice and they just don't want to say anything. We need them to say something to take care of themselves, okay? So if they come home and they are injured and something is not right and you haven't heard from the athletic trainer or a coach, please contact them right away so that way they're looped in. Okay, the next part that I want to hit on is sportsmanship, and this kind of goes without saying with athletics, especially at the high school level. But athletes, coaches, and parents, we need to lead by example. We're representing not only our teams and our school, but our entire community. So when we go out to events, or whether you're a player or a parent or a coach, that says a lot about our school and our community. And the best example that I can give you right now is, we recently hired a teacher here in the district, and that person was weighing a couple of different job offers in the region. And they reached out to somebody that they knew from a school in our conference, and they said, hey, what can you tell me about Somerset? Because they weren't necessarily tied right to this area, they were relocating. And that person that they talked to was able to tell them their fans are great, their kids are awesome, their coaches are great, and that kind of gave that person a representation of who we are as a district. And I should actually rephrase that. They asked how our athletic teams are and how our sportsmanship is. So that goes a long way. And I intentionally list every single Middle Border Conference team up there, because at the end of the day, we can only control what we can control on how we represent ourselves and our school and our community. We can't control, for example, if a school up here during the player introductions lifts up a bunch of newspapers. Not really sportsmanlike. We're not going to do that here, but if one of those schools chooses to do that, that's how they're representing themselves. That's not what we're about here. If one of the schools up here during player introduction wants to play Baby Shark while our kids are getting introduced, true story, we're not going to do that at Somerset when they come here. If they're going to do that, then that speaks volumes about how they are. If one of the schools up here has parents show up to a game under the influence and making poor choices, that's going to be how they're going to represent themselves. We're not going to do that. And these are all true stories, which you're probably like, really, those things happen? Yes, they have. Thankfully, again, in 4+ years, knock on wood, we have hardly had to deal with sportsmanship issues with our kids, our parents, or our fans. So I just appreciate that, and let's keep that going here. Final note on sportsmanship. If you haven't heard, there's a big shortage on officials. I want to say last winter's season, between basketball, wrestling, and hockey, each of those sports was down at least 30% in the number of officials from the season before. One of them was actually over 40%. So there's a huge need for officials. And the reason that I bring that up is, okay, we just talked about sportsmanship, make sure we're representing ourselves and all that type of thing. But at the end of the day, if you or somebody you know, you think might be a great person to get into officiating, even if it's starting at the middle school level or the C team or freshman level or JV level, please encourage them to reach out to me or send me their names. I would love to have a conversation with them. A lot of the sports now have great mentorship programs available with area associations to help onboard and train and teach newer officials to help get them comfortable at whatever level it is. I think a lot of times people hear officiating, they got to go do varsity. That's not necessarily the case. We need officials at all levels, and I truly think if we stay on the path that we're on right now, you will see, maybe not by the time all of you are either out of high school or by the time you're seniors, I do think in the near future we legitimately could see some really, really tough scheduling going on with game times and dates and not being able to play because of the lack of officials. So again, I'd like to bring this up as much as possible. If you or somebody you know you think might make a great official or be able to get involved, please have them contact me. Okay, a couple more things to go through here tonight. Transportation. So our buses go through Safeway. We partner with Safeway as a district for our school bus routes throughout the day and for our athletic teams. We use vans if it's smaller groups, and then we take coach buses if it's longer trips. And earlier I talked about Westfields being able to fully deliver throughout COVID. Safeway up here, our bus company, has been absolutely great to work with. Again, going through COVID, bus driver shortages, all the stuff that we see that's out there, I have not had a time where Dewey Jacobs, who runs Safeway here in town, has come to me and said, you know what, Trent, I know you got girls basketball going to Altoona and boys basketball is supposed to go to Prescott. I don't think we can make that work tonight. Time and time again, he finds ways to make things work on his end, or we might have to get a little bit creative with departure times, but they continue to deliver, and I just appreciate everything that they do. Student athletes, you must ride transportation to and from games. There are a couple exceptions to that, okay, and I'll go through some of those here. There is a sign-out form for after a game. If you're going to ride home with a parent or guardian needs to come up to the coach, sign you out, and then you can leave with them. You can do the non-school transportation form, which would be an example of Joey's going to the game, but after the game, he needs to ride home with somebody other than parent or guardian. Parent or guardian's not going to be at the game. We have a specific form that, again, it's online, it's on our website, needs to be filled out, turned into the office in advance, and has to be approved. Okay, so parent or guardian's at the game, great. After the game, sign your kid out, and then you guys can leave. If you're not going to be at the game and they're riding with somebody else, that pre-authorization form needs to be filled out. Typically, it gets filled out and gets given to the coach, and then they give it to me, and then we're good to go. Other times it comes directly to me, and that's fine, and then I'll loop the coach in. But either way, that needs to be filled out. Another example of that we've seen over the course of several years now is kid has a doctor appointment in Hudson, bus leaves Somerset at 2:45 p.m. and you're going to Rice Lake. Kid's not going to be back here in time to hit the bus, get on the bus, so parent fills out the non-school transportation form, and then they just take their kid right to the game in Rice Lake. Those are special circumstances, those aren't the norm, but there are scenarios that do come up where those are options. Driver's test has been one in the past too, although I know that some of those things have changed where kids can have the parents sign off or do the test, but those are different examples. Letter jackets, I want to bring this up in front of a captive group as well, because we do get questions. Typically it's after the fall season or right after the winter season or right after the spring season when kids have found out that they earned their first varsity letter. So we have a couple of vendors that are local that we use or that people can get letter jackets at that we work through. Designer Logo in New Richmond and Heritage Embroidery in Stillwater. Ordering information can be found on our website, and information about letter jacket accessories can also be found on our website. We do not actually place orders here at the school or have people come in and measure them. It's all through those local vendors. Pictures are once again being done by Cahill Photography. We just pushed out a graphic on our website over the weekend and on Facebook as well with the dates for each team. So those were on the graphic. Anybody who's a senior, we want our seniors to come in on August 15th at 2:30 p.m. so you can get your picture taken. You'll still do your team pictures, you'll still do all that, but we want our seniors to come in on August 15th simply for the fact that we want your senior picture taken for the banners so we can have those ordered a little bit earlier to have them here for more of the season. Sometimes the team picture dates are a week or two out from there, and then we don't have the banners here as long, so we're trying something new this fall. Another question that I get asked a lot from parents or community members is, how are ways we can get involved and help out? So these are several ways. Volunteer at games, helping with scorebooks, scoreboard, announcing, miscellaneous help. There's always things we can use help with. WI tournament events. We've gotten a lot of big events. Recently, again, Somerset had a really good history of getting games, and we've been able to get back on that, those opportunities again recently. So helping at those events, they take a lot of people to help put those on. Different projects that come up, and I use that very vaguely. I can think of an example where I had a parent stop me one time and say, hey, I noticed this might need some attention. I'm pretty handy, I could do that. Do you mind if we help with getting this fixed or better? And then we can have a conversation, work through our buildings and grounds to make that happen. So I am not handy. I have no problem admitting that. But again, so if you notice things or you have a skill set and can help out with different projects or want to get involved in different ways, please let us know. Helping with concessions, so home varsity football games, indoor events are run by specific teams, and probably the best way to get involved is to go and support other teams. Your kid may be in one program during the fall season or the winter season or the spring season, and I know schedules are busy, but if you can get out and support our other teams and cheer on our kids, that's the best way to support our programs. I'm going to flip ahead just to this slide. This will be the last slide that I want to talk about. So Mrs. Donnelly, who those of you that were in the high school last year obviously know, she was our principal. She's moved across the parking lot to be our district administrator. The district has created a separate page on our website with Referendum 2022. A survey was recently conducted. That information is coming in and going to be presented at the next school board meeting on, I believe it's either August 8th or August 9th, a week from tomorrow. But if there are questions that you have about that upcoming process or things that you're not sure on, that's the best source of information. A lot of times with referendums, there's frequently asked questions or things that people want to know. That was newly developed, and I just wanted to make sure to highlight that as well. And with that, if you have medical forms that you would like to turn in tonight, or if you're not sure, hey, is my kid registered? Are they registered? What forms are they missing? I'll be hanging out over here for a few more minutes. And other than that, have a great season. Good luck and enjoy it. Thank you.